When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. They're the home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds and Skims use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/start selling, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/start selling to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/start selling.
Droppens van regen op mijn kop. Ik via dek van woeste ziek kleine paarden top. Geef mir geen zacht lint, die droppens van regen op mijn kop.
Hey everyone, welcome to Kill Me Now with Judy Gold. I'm your host, Judy Gold, and this week we have part 1 of my interview with Gabe Dunn, and it's a doozier. See, I said doozier instead of doozy, because it's really a doozy. It's great, so I know you're going to enjoy that. I have so much I want to talk to you about, which I'm going to have to save for Rant Day, but okay, I'm getting all your suggestions. Thank you. Thank you. Working on a new theme song, and I think we have the name figured out. But that being said, I love you. And I don't know if you've been following me on Instagram at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD. If you have, you know that on Wednesday night I was in Toronto and doing a show, Stand Up for Israel. And we had a lot of protesters. In the front, there were a lot of them in the front, a lot of police. We took the backdoor entrance, went in the backdoor entrance, and I showed a video of them just calling us murderers and baby killers because, you know, that's what they do. God forbid they should, read the truth, or, their protests are really helping fight a fight. If they're helping, they want a ceasefire, and that's really, whatever they're doing is definitely helping to get a ceasefire. They're really effective. It's so ridiculous. And you know what was the weirdest part of the whole thing? I wasn't scared. I'm never scared of protesters. I feel like we have the truth. We have the facts. I feel strong in my commitment to obliterate Hamas, that Israel deserves to exist, deserves to defend itself, that it is a democracy. They just gave asylum to a Palestinian gay man just this week or last week. And yet all of these people protesting, you think Hamas isn't like the leaders aren't sitting in Qatar in their billion-dollar homes, like laughing, like, oh my God, these people are such idiots. Well, they are. And so I was with, I do the shows with Aaron Berg and Rich Voss, who I love dearly. They're like brothers. I've known Voss for so long. I love these guys. And they were so nervous about the protesters. Rich is like, I'm having an anxiety attack. And I thought about it. And I found that I really thought about it, and I realized that these guys have never had to stick up for themselves. They've never had to deal with protesters. They've never gone to marches. They've never fought for, women's rights or gay rights, or being told, you have AIDS and you're disgusting. And I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. It invigorates me. It's like, oh my, it makes me want to speak out even more. So I said that to them. I said, you guys, this is the first time you're like fighting for anything. So and they're like, you're right. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And of course they admitted it because they're great guys, and funny as well. But I have to say the show was sold out at Yuck Yucks, sold out. They were riled up. These comedy shows are an act of solidarity and defiance for the audience. That they, instead of sitting at home and getting on, socials and fighting with people and looking at the news and just getting aggravated, being there with allies and other Jewish people and laughing and using comedy as a coping mechanism, which is what we do. It's empowering. So we have a show this week in Baltimore at the JCC in Baltimore. So, it's on Thursday. I'm sorry, the 8th, February 8th, Baltimore. And it's going to be a great, great show. And then we have, pretty sure we're going to be in Minneapolis on the 21st. A lot more shows coming up. Come support. It's really, and everyone feels great because we're laughing. Anyway, so that was Wednesday night. And then, as you know, I have been, Lisa and I have been decided that I'm taking as many weekends off as I have to, which is not good for my pocketbook, but whatever, or my wallet, whatever you want to call it, to see Ben's games because he's a senior. And it was we drove to Williamstown. They had a game Friday night at Williams. And I have to say, they lost on a buzzer beater, but they lost by 1. They were up by 7 with like a minute and a half left. But they lost by 1 on this 3-point because they kept fouling us. And then when they got to the foul line, everyone in the stands would just get up and try to distract them. I have never seen a more unsophisticated, arrogant group of people, starting from the announcer at a college basketball game. They're classless. Sorry, I love Williamstown. I think it's great. I've performed there. But these fans, and I was just looking, white. They're white, entitled, white, and rich. And it's obnoxious. So, and I remember this from last year. So the announcer, when they're announcing, they'll say, they announce who's playing. So they'll be like, from Trinity, and then they'll announce all the players. People clap and they come out, whatever. And then they announce the home team. And we do that at Trinity. And they announce the people clapped, and they announce it. This is how they announced the team. They said, literally, this is exactly the way they announced Trinity. From New York, 6'8" center, forward, Ben Callahan, go. From Illinois, a small forward, Henry Fett. Like exactly like that. And then they got to the Williams team. Music came on. They're like, and from Boston, Massachusetts, a 7-foot senior from blah, blah, blah. It was so obnoxious. And they're yelling shit. And I remember last year they they looked the players up and yelled personal shit at them, like, oh, your father does this. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. So Williams, you should be ashamed of yourselves. I talked to Henry about it, and he was like, that's basketball culture. You don't think we did that in Indiana? It's disgusting. It's just gross. And it's so American. And it's nauseating. And the parents do it. The parents, they're just awful. So I hope we have a rematch because we deserve to win that game. We didn't win the game. So obviously then we didn't deserve to win it, but we didn't act as obnoxious, screaming shit, making fun of them. It's disgusting. So fuck you, Williams. Anyway, that was that. What else did I want to tell you? Oh, I was so excited. I didn't say last week about how excited I was about the E. Jean Carroll. You know, Robbie Kaplan, her lawyer, is a guest on, you should look it up. Let me look up the episode. Great, is a friend, and she was a guest on Kill Me Now. I'll tell you right now. I'm looking it up while I'm talking to you. Roberta Kaplan, Kill Me Now podcast. Episode 26. Episode 26. I would check that out. She's amazing. She's an amazing person and brilliant. Also, what else did I have to tell you? I don't even know. I don't know. I talked about Ben. I talked about the protesters. I talked about, I can't with the fucking driving. It's really, I can't. It's so much. And then I get in a bad mood when I get home because I've been focusing for like 4 hours. But we're driving to Maine on Friday and I'm just dreading it. But I want to be there for the boy. So that's that. Anyway, we have such a great guest this week. I hope you enjoy my fascinating interview with the one and only Gabe Dunn. Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems, everyone. We are thrilled here at Kill Me Now. Well, I am, since it's my podcast. Great guest today. Great fucking guest that you might not think I would have because you don't think I'm cool, but I am cool. And to prove it, we have, I don't even, author, comedian, journalist,
oh my gosh,
director, producer,
don't look at my
screenwriter.
Wikipedia. Oh my god,
no, you think I go to Wikipedia? What are you, fucking
really don't
crazy,
know.
Gabe?
I don't know.
Everyone, wait, Gabe Dunn is here.
Hello,
Gabe Dunn. Gabe, that is the Jew Bell, which I think we're gonna be hitting a lot today. My last podcast guest, I don't even think I hit it once. Yeah.
Was it the Pope?
It's, hey now. Very funny. No, it's Jai Rodriguez. Is it Jai or Jay?
Oh, Jay. Oh, from
Jay.
Queer Eye?
Yes.
Wow.
No bell. Seriously.
Yeah.
But, you know, people love the bell. Anyway, Gabe, thank you for being here. God, what a story you have. What a story you have. And you're fucking, 35 years old?
Yeah. Is that young?
Fuck you. Yeah, I'm 61, Gabe. 61.
You look great.
Thanks.
I'm so sorry people do this to me all the time, and it is a little bit jarring. But I did used to like watch you on TV when I was like in middle school.
Oh, I love you, Gabe. That makes me feel so great. Thank you.
Yeah,
did you enjoy?
I was obsessed with like all the Comedy Central stuff and all the like stand up on TV, like because I had a misunderstanding of stand up where I thought that you became so famous as an actor that they let you do stand up.
Oh, that's a definite misunderstanding. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, wow, these people are so famous. They let them have a stand up special. And so I was
that's
like,
so funny. You know, I love that you said that because I remember when I did my first my only HBO I was on other HBO specials, but when I did my first solo HBO special, right, in 1995, I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, this network is giving me 30 minutes of their, like, it's fucking amazing. And I always took those specials seriously, unlike some of my peers who were like, yeah, blah, blah. And I'm like you, like due diligence times 1,000. And so, yeah, I love that you said that because in a way it's true. Like that this network trusts you for 30 minutes that no one's going to change the channel. You know, that's how we used to say it, Gabe, change the channel.
Well, I just mean also because there's other comedians that I've said that too, and they've been like, "Oh my god, I feel so old." But I've also had people come up to me and be like, "I used to watch you on the bus in middle school," and I'm like, "That's crazy."
Right, you're not old. I'm 60 fucking one. Okay, listen, Gabe, what a fucking life. All right, first of all, you are from Davie, Florida. God bless you.
Hollywood, Florida, and I went to school in Davie.
You're from Hollywood, Florida. Well, same.
Same. It's very similar. Yeah. And my parents are still there in like Hollywood. It's a very Jewish area.
You have an older brother, younger sister. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I have 2 older brothers, but one of them we found out about in 2017. So I call him new brother. He showed up from a DNA test.
No fucking way. What happened?
So,
well, we know it's your father, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, and wait, can we just explain this to people? Because I was at Penn Station the other day, and there's these people at the bagel place, whatever the fuck it's called, Zaro's, and they're sitting there, and I hear the woman say, well, in the Jewish religion, for some reason, you are what your mother is. And I wanted to go, yeah, because you can always prove, like pre-DNA, you could always prove who the mother, you could never deny that this is the mother because you were coming out of the body of a woman, of a, and so that's why we went matrimonial. So do tell about your new sibling.
Well, yeah, I have my dad, it's my oldest brother's from his first wife, and then me and my sister are from his second wife, and then Jason is in the middle, and between that situation. But we did 23andMe in like 2012,
right?
Because I had a boyfriend at the time who insisted he was Native American. So I was like, well, let's put that to the test.
Right.
He was, as it turns out, not Native American. Can you believe?
Were you so thrilled that you were right?
I know, because I was like, this is going to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
But so then I did it, and then my dad did it as well. And then my dad didn't really know his dad. So we were like kind of gathering information from that. And then cut to 5 years later in 2017, we like forgot about it. We just left our DNA.
Yeah.
And then this guy messages my dad on Facebook, and he's like, hey, no pressure. Sorry about this. I think I'm your son. And my dad was like, okay, this is a scam. But then he like talked to him, and he was like, oh, fuck, this is my kid.
Wow.
It was like a one-night stand.
That's amazing. So do you have a relationship with him?
Yeah. He came to Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Yeah, we went. Oh, yeah. I mean, me and my sister, we're in LA. Jason's in San Diego. So we drove down within like a week to go meet him. And he looks just like my sister. He looks like my dad.
No way.
Yeah, to a T. Yeah. And like it was almost like laughable. And then we met him and his wife, and it was like really weird. Well, he and I FaceTimed that same day, and it was
right.
like,
is he Jewish?
No, his mother was not, and he was raised. He was adopted out. She gave him up for adoption, so he was raised in like a non-Jewish family, which he didn't even really like them, even as like a kid. He didn't really. He was like having trouble with them at the time because some of them had voted for Trump. So he was like 2017, right? So he was like on the outs with them at the time, and then he found out he wasn't even related to them, which can you imagine?
Oh my god, like, he must have been so happy.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I'm not okay. So I'm like not even, because he was like, I always feel like an outsider, and then he like was.
Right. Wow.
So if you don't feel like you fit in with your family, take a DNA test. Maybe you're not even part of them.
That's the best. Okay, so you grew up in the Hollywood, Florida area.
Yeah.
Your father was a drug addict, alcoholic. Your mother, not that was his job, but
I mean,
it
is a full-time
now he's
gig.
a sober coach, huh?
It's a full-time gig to be a drug addict and alcoholic.
But now he's turned his whole life around. He's a recovery addiction specialist, sober coach. And your mother, a divorce attorney and child custody attorney. Which, did she bring her work? Wait, sorry. Forgot to, did she bring her work? Did she talk about her work when you were growing up?
Yes. Too much, I think.
Really?
Yeah, well, I just remember, I mean, this is a funny side of it, but I just remember we would be going into school or something, and it'd be like a teacher, and she'd be like, oh, I did her divorce. Or
no
like,
way.
it'd be like, yeah, she's not subtle. Or like, there would be someone like, we would be like at the florist or something, and she'd be like, the person would be so friendly with her, and we would leave, and she'd be like, I did his divorce. And I'll be like, Mom, you have to stop telling me that.
Yeah, isn't that against the rules?
I think so.
Yeah.
But we would get a lot of stuff. So she's like kind of a bleeding heart. Like she wouldn't take a lot of payment. Like I talked about this in my book where she would we would get like manicures and stuff for free all the time. And I'd be like, why are we getting this for free? And she'd be like, oh, well, I did her divorce and she couldn't pay me. So now we just go in and it's free every time. So like she would Yeah. So she was like not very good at making money from stuff. But like, I think a lot of stuff for my bat mitzvah was free. Like getting the dress. I know. Getting the dresses like redone and the centerpieces and like a bunch of stuff was free because she just like had done these people's custody or divorces. But aside from
but that's so sweet that if they could, my father was a tax attorney and he was the same way. And my mother was like, Harold, but like he wouldn't, for the people who couldn't afford it, he wouldn't take money. But we didn't get any fucking free shit. So you're lucky.
So she like took it home with her in the sense too that, well, I worked as a secretary for her when I was like 15. So I saw a lot of stuff like women would call and they were like crying and I would have to like be like, put my like to a hold and then be like, Mom, so this person's calling, she's hysterical. And like would have to like put her through. But one thing I learned was like growing up, I thought like, you always think like divorce is so sad and bad and you see it on TV and it's awful. And then I would like see my mom's clients and she would be like taking them out for drinks after it was finalized and stuff.
Right.
And they would come into the office like gleeful. And I was like, how come people are so happy about divorces? And she was like, because they're free. Like a divorce isn't always bad. Sometimes it's great.
Did she ever talk about the child custody stuff?
Yes.
I can't even imagine.
Awful. Well, one thing I learned early on from that is that the courts are not like safe. They're not infallible. They're not like she would constantly think she's very like justice oriented and she would constantly think, well, this is the better situation for the child. And then the judge would make some other ruling. Ugh. And then she would come home and like cry because she knew the kid was going back to like a bad situation.
Right.
Or she had represented, the courts. And I understand this in some ways, but the courts prioritize, and I knew this very young, the courts prioritize the parents. So like the parent would be abusive, but they would get out of jail and they would say, I'm reformed. And there would be like an aunt who had been raising the kid for like 5 years, the only home the kid knew. And then they would go to court. My mom would often be representing like the aunt or the grandmother, and the kid would get like sent back to the father who they never met, never knew. And the father clearly had issues. And my mom would just like know that she was out of her control. And she would be like, I tried my hardest, but there's nothing I can do.
Ugh,
and she would be like, really?
Awful.
Yeah. So I learned pretty young that like things aren't fair.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love your mom. I mean, I saw the clip of you talking to your mom about how she hates marriage. And she said, I don't hate marriage. I just think basically you have to understand it before you tie the knot. You have to understand that you have to really love this person unconditionally, even when you hate this person. She seems so wise and Jewy, and I love her. This week's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, I am a huge advocate for therapy. I talk therapy. I like physical therapy too, but I'm talking about talk therapy. I've been in therapy since I'm 18 years old. There is nothing better. Nothing better. And it is a stressful time. We just had an election. It's the holidays, and we're going to have to spend family time or not spend family time. It's a decision you might make in therapy, because therapy is really the best way, the only way to process your feelings, anxiety, depression, everything. I've been doing it for over 40 years. I know what I'm talking about. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, if you thought about it for years and just didn't do it, please give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It's suited to your schedule. You go to betterhelp.com/JudyGold. You fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch your therapist at any time for no additional charge. I've done that multiple times in my life, switch therapists. It works. It works. And I know a lot of people who have used BetterHelp, and they love it. So find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/JudyGold today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JudyGold. You're welcome. You grew up in Florida. I was like looking Gabe Dunn childhood, and it's like all I could. I do a lot of research, but
oh my gosh,
I couldn't find a lot. But I do know that you started writing as a young kid. You wrote where is it? You wrote a novel. Look at all the shit you have. Graphic novel.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just tell the audience right now that Gabe has fucking in 35 fucking years, best New York Times bestseller, Bad with Money, podcast, Bad with Money, Just Between Us with Allison Raskin, it's a YouTube series, which is great.
I was going to say, I've been working with her. She's also Jewish. I've been working with her for 10 years.
I hit the fucking bell when I said it. Allison Raskin. And she just got married. Wait, I want to finish. Graphic novel, Bury the Lead. Let's see. First feature film, you and me coming out, where you're directing, you wrote it. We're
shooting it in March.
Yeah, you're shooting it in March. You made a face, and I was like, wait, what? Did something happen?
Because I'm like in the fundraising stage right now, and I'm
worst.
Panicked.
The fucking worst.
Yeah.
Young adult novel, I Hate Everyone But You. Bestseller, New York Times bestseller. Then a follow-up, Please Send Help. Apocalypse Untreated, Audible podcast about mental health. I can't fucking take it. Okay? I can't fucking take it. But I love this thing. So you wrote like a 50-page book. How old were you? Like,
I mean, I was always a writer, like always. I think I was like, in like first grade, I had like a notebook and I wrote like a little novel. And then I thought, well, I've achieved it. This is the great American novel.
Right.
But it was like, I remember it because I made it all up, in the sense that like the girl like wins a trip. She's like my age, and she wins she's a soccer player. I did not play soccer. I knew absolutely nothing about soccer. And she wins a trip to go play soccer in Washington, D.C., a city I'd never been to. I don't know. I like can't think about, it's just funny to be like a young person and not be writing about anything in your life. Like just imagining like, this is what Washington, like there's no internet. So I'm like, this is what soccer must be like. This is what Washington, D.C. must be like. And I was just like, I didn't use any examples from my life at all, which is kind of silly. I wish I still had it.
I know, but that's so that you had that imagination at that age and were able to document it. Like, that's fucking genius.
Well,
Gabe?
I often think that, like, me and Allison talk a lot about, we're like, were you like a genius in the 4th grade? And we're like, yeah, I feel like in the 4th grade, I was like so smart. And it's just like progressively gotten worse. Like, sorry, I'm a little bit sick, so if I cough, but like, I think a lot of people feel like, wow, I was such a gifted kid. And then you're sort of like, it's like a curse a little bit, because you're like, well, I feel like I really peaked in the 5th grade.
Right. Yeah. I get it. I was like one of those advanced kids. And then it sort of leveled
You
off.
burn out.
Yeah, it's like, and then I had undiagnosed ADHD. So,
Yeah.
if I could go back knowing what I know now, having, God only knows how many fucking books I would have read that, I didn't read halfway through and then had to, go jump around and run outside, when I was a little kid. But I could focus on music. So I always read music. So that, I think, helped my brain going, but not about me. Who cares?
Well, I read a lot. I read a lot of
Yeah.
books. I think a lot of kids who have chaotic homes, like alcoholic and drug addict parents who are sort of like, my dad was super unpredictable. So I was like constantly reading. Like, all I did was read. And like my even like at my bat mitzvah, which you can ring the bell.
Oh,
my
yeah,
like
baby.
entrance joke, like, they do like an entrance for the kid.
Yeah.
My like entrance joke was like that my family couldn't find me, and where was I, and then they like turned around the DJ booth and I was reading behind it. Always reading.
Like in The Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Yeah, like, she's always reading. I was a girl at the time.
Right.
She's always reading,
I love that. So did Anne Frank.
I looked a lot like her when I was a kid too.
Oh God, I was obsessed with Anne Frank as a kid, and now I'm re-obsessed because
oh my God,
the anti-Semitism.
Judy, kids are so. I like kind of looked like her, and I remember we got to that section about her in like 7th grade, and the kids like realized I looked like her, and it was off to the races.
You know what's crazy is that, Florida is only one of 6 states that taught the Holocaust.
What?
Yeah, that was required, that it's required to teach the Holocaust. So I think it's Florida, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, and California.
What?
And there's, in public schools that it is required.
No.
So now which is why we have these fucking assholes denying the Holocaust. I can't with the fucking stupidity,
really
but
can't.
whatever.
Oh my God.
Okay, so growing up, you were a girl growing up,
and
were you popular? Were you nerdy? Were you, did you like school?
No. I mean, I liked academic achievement, but I didn't like going to school. But,
right. Same.
And I was like good at certain things. But I mean, you have an idea of yourself and then you don't really know. Like I was not particularly popular, but it's funny because I met a girl later in life who we became friends. And then we slowly realized that she had gone to my school, and my school was very small. So she was in 7th grade when I was a senior, and she remembered me, and she said, you weren't, because I was curious, and because I didn't remember her at all. And she was like, you weren't popular, but you were like kind of stood out and were like sort of like the protagonist in the coming of age movie.
Right.
That's so funny. Because like
I love that.
I think I was pretentious, and I like thought that I was better than everyone, but I don't know if that's like a reaction to, I remember all the girls.
Yeah.
All the girls got tickets to a Maroon 5 John Mayer concert, and they were making shirts for the concert. And my school was very small, so it was like all the girls, and I was not invited. And I remember asking,
join the club. Yeah.
One of the girls, I remember saying, well, why aren't I invited? And she said, well, you think you're better than everyone. And I said, I am. And then they were like, well, that's why you're not invited.
Oh, I love that, Gabe.
Yeah.
What, you sound like you regret it, but Good for you.
I do. Well, it's interesting because I did not. I'm on the spectrum, and I realized I got diagnosed with that like lately, or in the last couple of years. But I didn't know that at the time, and I just remember there was this girl that used to bully me in middle school, and I wrote her a letter that was like, "Hey, it seems that you really bully me a lot, and I just want to know sort of why and why me." And like, is there some sort of interpersonal problem that we can kind of work out? Or like, do you want to talk? Or like, what's going on?
How old were you when you did this?
Probably like 13, 12.
Wow, that's fucking great. Yeah.
No, she cornered me and she was like, "Why are you so fucking weird?" And then she read
you, it. Cunty.
She like read it to her table because they were like, "Why are you weird? This is not the like bully victim relationship. Like, why are you being so weird?" Because I was just like, perhaps there's something going on at home, or maybe you want to sort of talk, or like, why, if you have a problem,
your mother. Yeah.
I was like, if you have a problem with me, like, can we work this out? And she was just like, you're making this so weird. And I was like,
question. All right. I have 2 questions. Is she Jewish?
Everybody was. It was a Jewish school.
And number 2, what does she do now?
Great question.
Thank you.
She is like, I looked her up, and she is like an advocate for autistic children. She teaches tennis.
Oh my God! That's crazy!
I know.
That is crazy!
I know.
Oh my God. You should have her on your mental health podcast.
I should be like, I was so gagged when I saw that. She like teaches tennis. She runs like a tennis camp for autistic kids because she was like a big tennis person when we were younger.
Right.
And I was like gagged. And I remember I tweeted being like, what do you do when your bully is like a good person now?
Right. I love that. Oh my God.
Gagged.
That's the greatest. Am I wrong that you got a job in high school with the local newspaper, or you were working?
I did.
Yeah. How did you get a job at such a young age at a local newspaper?
There was a program at the Sun Sentinel called Next Generation, and you apply. And if you get in, they let you write for the newspaper, like in the kids section. And so I applied, and I got in. And I like twice a month, I went to meetings at the paper, like for the kids, and you could like pitch stuff. And I met a girl there who's like one of my good friends now still. We met when I was like 14.
Jewish?
Yeah, Jewish.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and we're still friends to this day. So you could pitch. So then I was like finagling always to try to get like a full-time job there. And there was a smaller section of the paper in Tamarack, Florida.
I know Tamarack. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, well, the Tamarack office needs like actual correspondence. And I was like, well, I could do that. I don't have a car. I'm like, I could do that. And they're like, okay. And so I would go in, and they paid you by the source. So it would be like a 300-word story. I would interview like 8 people. Like,
wow.
So
Smarty pants.
I know. So I started working for them, pitching all kinds of stuff. But my dad had to drive me around, which is hilarious now because he probably was drunk. But he had to drive me around, and my mom was very into it. And like I remember, I got in like I had like a story I was working on, but I got asked to prom by this guy I was dating, and I was like, well, I'm going to go to the prom. And I remember my mom being like, why would you go to the prom? You have this interview that you have to do. Like, she was very much like, who cares about this guy? And I was like, I tended to agree with her, but I was like, well, I don't know. I should go, I guess. But there was like, I worked for the paper, and like I was in school. So I would have to like do interviews sometimes at like 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then go to school.
Right.
And then do interviews after. But I had like a thing where we had just gotten cell phones, and I remember I got a call. This is why nobody liked me. I got a call during like history class, and it was a source. And I was like literally in front of my teacher, went, I have to take this. It's for work. And he was like, no.
I love that.
He was like, took my phone away. And I was like, it's for my job. And he was like, no. You're
Oh
gonna get
my
your
God,
phone back at
that's
the end of the
hilarious.
day.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting. Go to your happy place for a happy price with Priceline's Black Friday sale. Save now and travel later with our best deals of the year.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You then went to the college that I wanted to go to, and my parents wouldn't let me, although I got in, but my parents wouldn't let me because we lived in New Jersey, and Rutgers was $2,500 a semester. So
Wow. Okay.
my brother went there, my sister went there, my father went there. He got his law degree there. He got his CPA there. Like
Rutgers is a good school.
Thank you, Gabe. But yes, but I really wanted to go to Emerson, and now like so many of my friends went to Emerson who are comics. But you went for journalism and media, and in your sophomore year, you became a crime reporter for the Boston Globe. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. Well, so the school had.
I feel like Rachel Maddow. You know, like Rachel Maddow when she does the beginning of her show and she tells this whole story, and then she has the guest on, and she goes, "Did I get that right? Did I get all of that right?" And okay, go ahead.
I mean, this is a lot of research. I'm kind of shocked, but so my school, Emerson, had a relationship with the Globe where there was a co-op program where you could go to school and also work at the paper. And there were 4 slots, but it was like Harvard, Northeastern, Tulane, like all the schools competed for these 4 slots. And usually Emerson got like most of them. There was the Harvard hardly ever got it. Like I don't know what they were looking for, but it was largely Emerson and Northeastern that they would hire. And so it was like, so there were 4 slots. There was like 6 a.m. to 12 to 6 a.m. to maybe 11 to 12 to like 2 to whatever. And then I would come in from like 6 to 2 in the morning. So it would be whatever those slots were. There was like some overlap, but there were 4 and it was competitive. And I knew that nobody asks for the night shift. They just give it to someone.
Right.
So I was like, when I went in for my interview, I was like, I'm going to ask for the night shift because nobody wants that. So then when they look through the lists, they'll say, oh, there's only one application that wanted the night shift, and they'll pick that person. So
Smart, Maria, very smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went in and I did the interview and I was like, oh, I really want the night shift. Like that's the one that I want.
Yeah.
And I think they hadn't had a woman do the night shift in like 9 years. So they had me call the last girl who had done it and get like the real idea of what it was like. And she was like, yeah, I mean, it's like different, but I think you could do it. And I was like, okay, because they give you a car with like a police scanner in it. You have to check out a car. So you go down to the bottom of you check in, then you go down to the bottom of the Globe, and there's like different keys and different cars with scanners. And you go in, you check out a car, and then you drive around with the police scanner.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times it's very boring.
Right.
But you're going around and there's a night shift actual crime reporter that you're working with. And so they're actually writing the story. So they'll call you and be like, we need you to go here and like get some details. So a lot of times it depended on if that reporter wanted to throw you a bone. So like they would put like additional reporting by, or if they were really nice, they would give you a double byline. But it was sometimes they didn't even do that. So it was kind of up to their discretion. And I was so fucking thirsty. Like I would beg. I'd be like, please just give me the additional reporting. And then like because I was so annoying, I think sometimes they threw me like a double byline because I would just be like, please. And
you're right.
Yeah. So I mean, they don't have to. I'm like an intern. But oftentimes I would try to find things on my own. But in my head, I would say, Well, if it's already on the scanner, the police are already there. So it's
Right.
not that dangerous. How dangerous could it be? They're already, wherever I'm going, it's not like I'm going to where the police aren't. But the police officers were also like, you had to kind of talk to them and finagle them. And I was like a 19-year-old girl. So a lot of my strategy was to sort of play dumb.
Right.
So I would sort of be like, oh my God, what's going on here? And then they would say things to me that they thought I wouldn't understand.
That's
So
brilliant. So you played like the dumb. Oh,
I'm just a little girl. I'm just a little girl reporter.
Right. Smart.
I don't know if you tell me the code for the thing, I won't even know what it means.
Right.
Like that.
Any really great cases that you remember?
There were so many things. Like on 4th of July, I was drinking with my friends and I got called in and I went to the Globe drunk. And then they were like, you have to go out and report on this shooting. And so I went to the shooting on the train. But I went to the shooting and then it was like really awful situation. I interviewed because you would have to knock on the door and like interview people about like a horrible thing that had happened, or you would have to
Did
call.
you have a camera? A recorder? What did you have with you?
A recorder, but also just a notepad.
Notebook.
Like there wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Like it was 2007.
Okay.
So it was like a notepad. The amount to which, kids today, I would have a notepad and I would write everything down and then I would go to like a phone or a cell phone and call it in and read the story to someone who was typing it.
Wow.
So I would have
like
to
a
write
stenographer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have to call in and read the story as I had written it in my notebook to the person who would type it up and then put it in the paper.
So your storytelling is if you're taking notes and then telling a story on the phone, I mean, there's comedy right there. I mean, that's the.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you would get yelled at. Like, if you wanted, you would call the family and they would be like, fuck you. Which now it's interesting. Like, I see, it's hard, right? Because there'll be like a school shooting and then you'll see the kids like tweeting, like, oh my God, we're on lockdown, whatever.
Right.
And then like, they'll be like, hi, I'm Sherry, blah, blah, blah from ABC 10. Like, can you respond to me? Or like, can you tell me what's going on? And everyone will be like, fuck you, Sherry. Which like, I get, but like Sherry's boss is making Sherry do that.
Right. And also, it's not like Sherry, has no feelings. It's like Sherry's trying to report the news and get the word out. But it's like, I get it.
You're vultures. But sometimes, I will say, sometimes someone will have just died and you call and the person wants to talk about their relative who just died. It's cathartic.
Right. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Kind of like an audience.
Yeah.
You graduate from Emerson. Am I correct? Hi, this is Rachel Maddow. Is it correct that you were an intern at The Daily Show?
Yeah. I was end of college. Yeah, I was an intern at The Daily Show. When Viacom, by the way, didn't have to pay. They got sued later.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to pay.
Did you get any money? No, you didn't get any money.
Zero.
Yeah.
No. And I also was again mistaken. And I loved The Daily Show, but I thought that the people who worked there were journalists. I did not realize they were comedians.
Yep.
So when I got there, the idea that they were all comedians and were doing stand-up on the side or were performing at UCB or the Pit or whatever, that was a surprise to me. So I didn't realize that was the situation. So because I got the internship and then Emerson was like, well, it's not an internship in your field. So you have to get permission from the film department.
Right.
And I was like, that's stupid. They're journalists. So I like had to go to the film department and like make my case and go to the journalism department and make my case that The Daily Show was journalism. Cause they were like, no, it's not. This is like a film and TV internship. And I was like, no, it's not. But it was.
But that being said, most people get their news.
I know.
And at that time, especially from The Daily Show.
I know.
You can argue it both ways. Then you moved to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Did you work for BuzzFeed?
Yeah, later when I got to LA.
Okay. I didn't know if you did that in New York or...
No, in New York, I was freelance reporting, and then I would take little jobs at magazines and stuff. And like, I took a job at like a fitness magazine as like the IT person, but I like wasn't qualified.
Right.
Like, I was like, New York was very stressful.
Yeah, it is a stressful place.
It was way too stressful. I sometimes wonder if it was New York was stressful or if it's just because I was like 21 to 24 and that's just a stressful time.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up right by the city, but also my family's from here. And, I lived here at 21. It's the person, it's hard. I mean, you came from Florida and then you went to Boston, which is a small city, it can be overwhelming. Okay. You moved to LA. The stuff you've done, the way you've taken your life, so let's talk Bad with Money.
Yeah.
I heard you speak about how you didn't grow up with a lot of money. You didn't have, but yet it was sort of a taboo topic-ish. Like, I love that you want to conquer that head on. And I just, the greatest part of you went into I don't know where it was, but you asked people, what's your favorite sexual position? And they were right away. They all answered the question. And then you asked them about their income or something regarding money, and they would not answer. I thought, what brilliant. It's so brilliant.
That was with my producer, Sam Dingman. We both came up with that. And he was instrumental in the first couple seasons. Yeah. Jewish.
Dingman?
Yeah. He was instrumental in the first couple seasons and then he had to leave. But it was like very, because Panoply, which was the company at the time, they wanted to do a podcast with me. They reached out and they were thinking it would be some kind of LGBTQ thing or dating thing or something. And I was like, I want to talk about money. And they were like, okay, you've literally never done that in your career, but sure. And it was just, I noticed that people didn't really talk about it. And I was working at BuzzFeed at the time and we all had salaries. And I think something that had just happened where I didn't realize you needed to take out for taxes. So I thought I made more money than my boyfriend who also worked there. But we realized he was taking out for taxes and I wasn't. And just nobody had ever told me to do that.
Right. That's smart. That happens a lot. I mean, to a lot of people. God. And then you get
influencers. So many young influencers, they don't realize that they need to like take out for taxes when they get like some fucking 10K brand deal. And then they're shocked at the end of the year when they have to pay like so much in taxes. It's like,
I know.
There's no education.
Ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
They should kind of teach that with the Holocaust. Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of my interview with the one and only Gabe Dunn. How great was that? Call Me Now is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling, marketed and everything else by, and scheduled and everything, by Brittany Jo Sowards Richmond. If you like my podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Also, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Judy Gold, JWGYGOLD, because I'm a Jew. Come see me in Baltimore. That's right, baby. Baltimore at the Jewish Community Center on Thursday, February 8th. Okay? And then I will be in Bloomington, Minnesota on February 21st. And I have a lot of other dates coming up for Stand Up for Israel. What else? I don't know what else to tell you. I'm just so happy you listened. Get ready for our new theme song and new name and new everything. I love you all. Thank you for listening, especially to the end. And as we always say, so long.